mynews.studio.
In 2026, the U.S. will be installing enough solar panels and batteries to power a small country. But fossil fuels, well, they're barely part of the mix. Why is that?
It really is a big shift. Just to set the scene, today is February 25th, 2026. The numbers this year are striking. 99.2% of all new U.S. electricity generation capacity, so about 69,579 megawatts, will come from solar, wind, and batteries. Not only a record, but a huge acceleration over previous years.
Exactly. And it's about more than just climate change. What we're seeing is economics, technology, and policy all intersecting. Developers plan to add 86 gigawatts of utility-scale capacity, over half solar, 28% battery storage, 14% wind. Natural gas? Only about 6.3 gigawatts or 7%. Coal is mostly being retired.
But what's the real driver here? If it's not just federal policy, what's pushing this transformation right now?
Mainly, it's market forces. Big tech companies, think Meta, Amazon, Google, they need zero-carbon electricity for their cloud and AI data centers, and they need a lot of it. At the same time, the price of solar panels keeps dropping. Lead times have shrunk to as little as 14 to 24 months. Battery storage is scaling up too. Over 40 gigawatts installed, and another 24 expected just this year.
Texas really stands out here, right?
Yes, Texas is adding 40% of all new solar in the U.S., and more than half of new battery storage, over 12.9 gigawatts. The ERCOT grid is on track to handle 106 billion kilowatt-hours of solar next year, plus 37 gigawatts of battery storage. And it's not just Texas. Arizona, California, and New Mexico are also rolling out big projects.
What about places where coal and gas used to be the backbone? How are those states adapting?
Many are moving quickly. Take Wyoming or Illinois. Both have deep fossil fuel roots, but now they're hosting major wind and battery storage projects. Some new solar and battery sites are even being built on the grounds of former coal plants. There's federal support too. The Inflation Reduction Act is funding retraining, and a few states have their own transition programs for coal workers. But the details vary a lot from place to place.
So, is the support for workers losing fossil fuel jobs really there, or is this just about building new tech?
It's both, but it's uneven. The renewable jobs market is expanding fast, especially in installation and manufacturing. Still, there are localized job losses when coal plants close. Retraining programs exist, but not everyone gets help right away or benefits equally.
Let's dig into the technology. How important are batteries and grid management for this transition to actually work?
They're absolutely central. Batteries let us store solar power generated during the day to use at night. That's key for keeping the grid stable. There's also standalone storage, like what we're seeing in Texas and Arizona. And then there are virtual power plants, where thousands of home batteries are linked together to help shave peak demand and keep the lights on. ERCOT's grid is a good example. They've scaled up storage to help smooth out the variability of solar.
Does all this mean power prices are actually coming down?
We're seeing prices stabilize. Renewables are efficient and cheap to operate once they're built. With demand rising, especially from new data centers, improvements in technology and efficiency mean we're not just using more energy, but using it better.
But reliability is still a concern, especially with renewables facing extreme weather. Is the grid really getting more resilient?
That's where batteries and advanced grid technology really matter. As more storage comes online and grid management gets smarter, overall resilience is improving, even as coal plants close. There are risks with extreme events, but the overall trend is positive.
Supply chain issues have been a big hurdle for solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries. How much does the U.S. still rely on imports, and what happens if that gets disrupted?
The U.S. still depends a lot on imports, especially from Asia, for both panels and key minerals. If there's a trade dispute or a shortage, deployment could slow down or get more expensive. Texas's rapid growth, for example, relies on stable imports. But there's growing investment in domestic manufacturing, especially with new incentives in states like Texas and Georgia. It's a race to strengthen the supply chain.
But if those supply chains break down, does it threaten the 99% renewables milestone?
It could. Disruptions might delay projects or drive up prices, diversifying suppliers and boosting U.S. manufacturing help, though it's not a guarantee against problems.
Looking at the bigger picture, does the U.S. leading on clean energy send a wider signal internationally?
It does. The U.S. is the world's second biggest emitter, and with zero emission sources on track for 43% of its power in 2025, this becomes a model for decarbonization. Corporate commitments are pushing for even bigger targets by 2030. What happens here is watched closely by policymakers worldwide.
To sum up, cost, corporate demand, and technology are driving a big transition. Fossil fuel states are adapting, but it's not simple. Batteries and grid tech are making it possible. But supply chains remain a weak spot, and the U.S. is setting an example globally.
That's right. The numbers are historic, the pace is rapid, and the lessons are relevant beyond the U.S. We're seeing economic and technological transformation unfold in real time.
That covers our look at how the U.S. grid is shifting toward renewables. We started with a leap in clean energy, and we're ending with a ripple effect around the world.
Thanks for listening and staying with us for all the details.
Thank you for tuning in. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.